Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Prime. This is the show where we bring you all the day's updates from home and abroad, business and sports. I'm Gautam Roy. Well, the nation is right now witnessing the final journey of India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, after the tragic helicopter crash on Wednesday, which also claimed the lives of his wife and 11 others. We'll get to the latest on that, apart from other updates as well. But first, the big news of the hour. Last rites of General Bipin Rawat to be performed with full military honours at Delhi cantonment. Mortal remains of General Rawat laid in state for all to pay their last respects at his residence. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attends the last rites of Brigadier L.S. Liddar. The Indian Air Force constitutes a tri-service court of inquiry to investigate the cause of the tragic helicopter crash on the 8th of December. Says to respect the dignity of the deceased, uninformed speculation may be avoided. Prime Minister Modi participates in the Summit for Democracy at the invitation of US President Joseph Biden. Says India stands ready to work with our partners to strengthen democratic values globally, including in multilateral fora. The PM is scheduled to deliver the national statement at the first Summit for Democracy today. Historic decision by the UN General Assembly. UNGA grants observer status to the International Solar Alliance. India thanks all member states. In sports, Indian weightlifter Jhilli Dalabehera clinches gold medal in women's 49 kg category at the Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Jhilli bags 1 gold and 2 silver medals so far. Vindhyarani Devi wins 1 gold and 1 silver. Well, the last rites of India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, are being performed today with full military honours in New Delhi at the Brass Square Crematorium this afternoon. The mortal remains of the CDS and his wife were laid in state at his residence, where civilian dignitaries, military personnel and citizens paid their last respects. The mortal remains of the CDS will now be taken, in fact, the time scheduled for that was 2 o'clock to be taken to Brass Square Crematorium at the Delhi cantonment, where the funeral is set to be performed at 4 p.m. You can see that his remains are being taken from his residence. In fact, these are images from earlier, and we'll soon be bringing you the live images as well. These were from earlier in the day. Home Minister Amit Shah too paid his tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat at his residence, when his mortal remains and those of his wife Madhulika Rawat were kept in state. Senior leaders cutting across party lines paid their respects to General Rawat and his wife. Senior cabinet leaders, Lok Sabha Speaker, state chief ministers were among those who paid their last respects. You can see Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman paying her last respects there, and that's Speaker, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. Very somber moments these. INB Minister as well there, Anurag Singh Thakur. And that's Piyush Goyal, Minister for Commerce and Industry, Railways. You can see in the background JP Nadda as well, BJP President, and many other leaders. You name them, they were there to pay their last respects to India's topmost ranking military officer who died very tragically in that helicopter crash that took place on Wednesday in Tamil Nadu. A soldier, had a military pedigree that covered generations of his family. Illustrious career. Man who was completely involved in charting out the future course of the Indian Armed Forces to make them leaner, meaner and better fighting machines. Focused on breaking the silos in the tri-services and trying to get the best out of the kind of resources that were at the disposal of the Indian Armed Forces. That was General Bipin Rawat in his final days. Now, daughters of CDS General Bipin Rawat and Madhulika Rawat, Kritika and Tarini, paid their last respects to their parents as well. You can see these images of the remains of General Rawat and his wife Madhulika being taken to Brar Square Crematorium in Delhi Cantonment, where the funeral will be performed later in the afternoon, more towards the evening really. It's a ceremonial battery of 2233 Field Regiment that is providing the gun carriage. All ranks from the Army, Navy and Air Force and 33 members of the Tri-Services Band will form the front escort, while 99 all ranks from the three services will act as the rear escort. This is the information that I have been provided by my colleague and our correspondent Nandita Dagar. You can hear the cries of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and Amar Rahe as well for General Bipin Rawat. The journey from his official residence at K. Kamraj Marg and Brar Square in Delhi Crematorium expected to take around 1.5 hours. You can see the casket of Madhulika Rawat, his wife, being taken on for the last journey as well. On the carriage. While the remains laid in state, a total of 12 officers from the Army, Navy and Air Force of the rank of Brigadier and equivalent were on vigil duty to maintain continuous vigil over the mortal remains while they laid in state. A total of 800 service personnel will be in attendance for the military funeral of the nation's first CDS. He will be accorded a 17-gun salute according to the laid down protocols. And later, after 4 p.m., after the playing of the last post and the roused by tri-services buglers. The funeral pyre will be lit by family members.
Rise up, please. Please. Sir.
Dev, who's at the residence of General Bipin Rawat as he begins his final journey along with his wife, both falling victim to that tragic incident that took place the day before on Wednesday in Tamil Nadu, the helicopter crash that the nation has been left feeling very shocked and bereft by, because not only the general and his wife perished in that crash, 11 others also died along with them. There's one surviving member right now hanging on for dear life, battling for life. Meghna, this is very poignant. You must have witnessed those moments where countless people really came and paid their last respects to General Rawat and his wife at their residence while their remains laid in state at their residence as well. Just take us through these moments and what you have been witnessing so far at that K. Kamraj Road residence of General Bipin Rawat.
Yes, Gautam, what I can see in, and we can show the visuals as well, people in large numbers have been chanting slogans of General Bipin Rawat, Amar Rahe, and definitely, paying tributes to him, giving him the last goodbye, a farewell, and no doubt we could see, so many civilians, so many commoners had, just emerged here outside his residence here at K. Kamraj Marg in New Delhi, and we could see there were so many people, saying, chanting Jai Hind and slogans of patriotism. No doubt we could see that how much of, love and affection he has got and he has been getting from, the common man, and we can also see that especially reflecting on social media as well, wherein,
Yes.
People have been, pouring condolences, not only the people
Could you request your camera person Meghna to give us a wider perspective of the kind of crowds we're seeing here, because it just seems like a spontaneous outpouring of grief. Even when I was making my way to the office earlier in the day, I could see that the traffic was building up and everybody was sort of zeroing down on the residence of General Rawat at that time, it seemed, and that was around 10-11 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, no doubt, Gautam, you would have witnessed a lot of traffic as well, because, since morning that, number of people have started coming in, and also inquiring, because the
Thousands upon thousands of people, as
already,
I can see, Meghna.
yes, crowds of people obviously, and since morning itself, people had been coming, especially to the media persons who were already there, to ask them that, when will the mortal remains arrive here so that they can pay their last respects. And today it's also, since around 9:30 to 10 a.m. in the morning, we had been seeing huge crowds. People have been flowing in like swarms of bees, and there has been a lot of crowd here. People paying their last respects. People have brought garlands. People have brought wreaths. People have brought flowers. Just to get the last glimpse of him, and just to pay their last respects. I've been speaking to a number of people, especially a huge amount of youngsters who have gathered outside. I have been able to speak to them, and they have been telling
I know of
many.
cases of people coming down from Uttarakhand as well to Delhi to pay their last respects. Making that journey through the night or starting yesterday, hitting the road and then getting down to Delhi to just to pay their last respects.
Yes, absolutely, and we have been seeing, a number of people from Uttarakhand. You have rightly pointed out, Gautam, in the morning itself, people have been lining up here outside, and especially people from Uttarakhand, as well as, people from other places also have come. I've been speaking to a number of youngsters who have been telling that they are, defense service aspirants, and they looked up to him. The reason they have come here to pay their last respects, and one boy I was talking to was really very young, hardly in his early 20s, and he also told me that one Bipin Rawat has gone, but he has given that energy that there are many more Bipin Rawats to come. So that is what, that is the kind of energy that, he has, and the inspiration that he has given to the youngsters especially. And we have been seeing on social media especially that a number of people have been pouring condolences, not only from India, worldwide. There have been, several people who have been pouring in, condolences. People have been saying that it's not only a loss for India, but it is also, like, for example, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Bipin said that it's a loss for both the countries, as well as, the ambassador of Israel to India has also said that India has lost a brave son. So definitely we can see that how much of a camaraderie he had with the top leadership of other countries, with the top brass of other countries. So we can definitely, see that reflection in the kind of farewell that General Bipin Rawat is getting. And undoubtedly we have seen, several dignitaries as well who have come here today to pay their last respects. Nobody wanted, to let this last chance to have a glimpse of him go away, and definitely that is what has made a lot of crowd come outside his house as well. And very importantly, we only see such kind of crowds for top leaders of the country, and the probably politicians for that matter. Such kind of crowds for commoners. But this is very, unusual and very heartwarming to see. Though people have, left him, with a heavy heart. People have bid farewell. But undoubtedly, this was one, occasion where people actually were chanting, patriotic songs outside, singing patriotic songs outside, chanting patriotic slogans outside. And, the kind of farewell that people have given him is something that...
I can see in the frame a young boy in a white... kurta running along the carriage. This just encapsulates the kind of accounts that you're bringing to us, Meghna.
No doubt that, you can obviously see, especially youngsters that we were talking about, Gautam.
Yes,
youngsters,
lots of them.
Especially in the crowd, taking the lead and, bidding farewells, because we saw a lot of youngsters full of energy, especially in the morning. That, everybody was saying that this is a kind of void that is impossible to fulfill. That is next to
certainly a
impossible
very
to fulfill.
inspiring figure, a person who gave so much to the nation all these years, 4 decades, over 4 decades long career. And to the end, I mean, what he was going for was also to, talk to young people coming out of the college and embarking on their military careers, and that is something that will be a lasting memory of him as well.
Yes, and obviously in the visuals we can see that people are not leaving a single chance to, have a last glimpse, or, people want to go till, the Delhi Cant Square crematorium for till the last lap that he will have today, for the last rites, and obviously the cremation will take place with all full state honors, and no doubt that since morning there was a lot of crowd that has been here, and not only outside his house but also inside his house. There have been a number of civilians also coming in to pay their last respects. There were a number of people who have come here to pay their last respects. Dignitaries, we saw several people coming to pay their last respects. We had some cabinet ministers, as well as chief ministers of different states, as well as other ministers, top leaders who had come to pay their last respects. No doubt he appealed to every sector. We also spoke to the chief minister of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami. He told us that whenever he used to meet General Bipin Rawat, he always used to say that we have to work for the development of Uttarakhand. We have to work for the progress of Uttarakhand. That is what everybody, every time he used to meet the chief minister, he used to say. So definitely, the people, and he also said that it is not only a huge loss for the nation, but it is an even bigger loss for Uttarakhand. That's what he told us while he was talking to us. So definitely we could see that because a number of people from Uttarakhand have also arrived here. So that's what shows us that all the way from Uttarakhand people have come to New Delhi just to have a last glimpse of him and just.
I mean, just look at these. I don't know if you can see the frame right now, Meghna, the live frame that we have on the screen for our viewers right now. But just a group of boys running along the carriage. That in itself is very telltale of the kind of respect that General Bipin Rawat commanded, especially among the youth of the country, especially those who were inspired by him and aspired to be in the military forces.
Definitely, we can also, as we can see in the frame, there are several youngsters running, along the trucks that are there, and especially along the gun carriage that is there, in which the mortal remains have been kept and are being taken to the Brass Square crematorium, where the last rites will take place. And there, we can see a huge crowd, and we are playing visuals of the truck coming outside the main gate. These are visuals of just a while back, and the visuals where you can see the truck flying on the road. This is the current visual. We were expecting that the cremation would take place somewhere around 3:30. The route will be taking an hour because of the kind of crowd that is there. Obviously, the truck will be flying a bit low, so. And we could actually expect that it will take a bit of a time, and we have been seeing that several youngsters running behind the truck. Though there has been a lot of security here, so that it is very streamlined. That everything is very streamlined, and people come here and pay their tributes here easily. But definitely, the kind of crowd that has suddenly emerged, around 9:30 to 10 a.m. was unexpected, and we could see that in the visuals as well. And the entire convoy, we can see currently that the convoy is flying on the road, and it's on its way to the Brass Square crematorium, where the last rites will take place, and with full state honors as well. Definitely one last farewell, a last goodbye that people are giving him today. Since morning, in fact since a couple of days, this has been a very tragic incident. People have been, people earlier were praying that if a miracle happens and all the 13 of them, all the 14 of them in fact could get saved, but we lost 13 of all the 14 people who were on that helicopter, and people are praying for Group Captain Varun Singh's recovery and survival. Very important that is. But besides that, what we could also understand that the kind of prayers that had happened across the country for the people on board on the helicopter for their safety was something that the entire nation prayed together. But unfortunately, the kind of tragic, the kind of crash that it was, definitely 13 of them could not survive, but it was definitely a big loss for the nation, a massive void that has been created, which is, we were talking to a number of people, they've all been of the thought that it is a very impossible thing to fulfill. There were some other people also, some officials who had come from Sena Bhavan as well, just working nearby. They brought in garlands and flowers to pay their last respects, and they were also saying that he was so approachable, he was so straight to talk to, he was so straightforward to talk to, and he was so approachable that he did not, actually have any kind of differentiation between any kind of any level of official. So that is what people have been telling, and we can still hear a lot of slogans that people are chanting. And right outside his house also still there is a lot of crowd, which has just started to leave. So since morning we have been seeing a lot of crowd, and not even.
I'm sure they must be making their way to Brass Square Crematorium now, because pretty soon things will shift there. Right now, of course, the carriage, we can see that on the road. Probably this is Sardar Patel Marg. I can't really make out the landmarks right now, but I think we're very close to Dhaula Kuan, I guess, Meghna. And you were giving information about the kind of people who visited when his body and that of his wife lay in state at their residence. Nandita Dagar, our colleagues, also shared information on how senior military commanders from friendly foreign countries have also arrived in New Delhi to attend the final farewell of General Bipin Rawat, and these are from Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal and Bangladesh as well.
Yes, there were also some ambassadors, because there was a lot of crowd. We couldn't identify many people because, a number of people was actually almost got lost in the crowd, and it was very difficult to identify how many people are coming. But what we could see is a number of cars coming from different embassies, and we could also see that a number of other retired military personnel were also there who had come to pay their last respects. And we have been seeing on in different articles also written about General Bipin Rawat by his colleagues or by other people who have served along with him, senior people of the forces. They have also written that he was a very brilliant and approachable person, a very straight talking person to talk to, and for his he becoming the CDS, people have also said that he was the right man for the job, and he was very approachable. Even he was very approachable to the last soldier. That's what he would go to, any lengths to ensure that his juniors, his jawans, anybody who came in contact with him, he looked after their welfare. So this is what people have been writing about him, in different articles in different papers. They have been seeing in several newspapers, articles on him written by the people who have had the opportunity to work with him, work along with him, work under him for that matter as well. And definitely people have been saying, the kind of work, the sea of change that he has brought, especially, talking about the technological advancement, the modernization of the army is what a number of people were also talking about. And it is very surprising to also see, Gautam, here is that when we were talking to the common people outside, his residence, we could also understand that a number of people are aware of the kind of modernization that is happening, in the forces, and they credit it to General Bipin Rawat for that matter, and which is very surprising to see, because a lot of people who take interest in defense matter, besides them also, the common man is aware of the kind of initiatives that he has taken. So that is very, that was in fact good to see that the way, the kind of approach that he had to things actually appealed to the common person.
Yes, and the national broadcaster is also paying tribute to General Bipin Rawat on this day. As a mark of respect, Prasar Bharati is going to telecast the recently held Sardar Patel Memorial Lecture 2021 titled Role of Indian Armed Forces in Nation Building by CDS General Bipin Rawat today at 5:30 on All India Radio and 7:30 on DD News and 10 p.m. on DD National as well. So that's how Prasar Bharati, the national broadcaster, which is of course the entire Doordarshan family, is also paying respect to General Bipin Rawat today on this very poignant day when we're bidding a final farewell to this brave, legendary soldier of the country. We are seeing these live images are of the military carriage that is taking his remains and that of his wife, Madhulika Rawat, to where we will bid them a final farewell, which is at Brass Square Crematorium later in the afternoon, more towards the evening in the Delhi cantonment. This journey began a short while ago from his official residence, and you can see the kind of crowds and That was something very, very remarkable. The crowd had started building up from the morning, and I know of people who've travelled from various parts of Uttarakhand by road to be able to come to Delhi and to pay their last respects, and even from other parts of the country as well. General Rawat, of course, was from Uttarakhand, but even from other parts of the country, people have made this journey to the national capital to pay their last respects to him. Also, like about the information that has been shared by our colleague Nandita Dagar, that some of the foreign military commanders from friendly nations have also come down to the national capital. They've travelled here to pay their last respects to General Ravath and his wife, and in fact to all those who died in that tragic chopper crash that took place in Tamil Nadu. We have foreign military commanders attending the last rites from Sri Lanka, from Bhutan, from Nepal, Bangladesh, all these friendly countries coming down to Delhi to pay their last respects to General Bipin Rawat and all those who died in that tragedy in Tamil Nadu. You can still see some of those boys running along the carriage that is bearing the remains of, this is the gun carriage that is bearing the remains of General Rawat and his wife. And there are flower petals strewn along the way, crowds lined up as well along the side of the road, the route that has been taken by this gun carriage. It's been a spontaneous outpouring of grief and the sentiment to pay last respects to such a legendary brave soldier of Bharat Mata. Meghna, if you're still with us, just tell us in terms of what can we expect now once the gun carriage carrying the remains reaches Brar Square crematorium, because I believe that that's where a ceremonial funeral will be carried out. It seems we've lost contact with Meghna for the time being. I'm sure she'll join us pretty soon, but you can see these are live images and they tell their own story. This is spontaneous, this is grief, this is the sentiment to be with someone who was so inspiring, so brave, such a stellar record of service to the nation, that these young people have just come out from their homes literally to just run along this gun carriage which is bearing the last remains of General Bipin Rawat, the country's first Chief of Defence Staff, the highest ranking military officer that the country had. This is the national capital. His funeral will be taking place at Brar Square crematorium in the Delhi cantonment, which is, of course, a bastion of defence for the people of Delhi and the area surrounding it. But of course, there is that sense that this is so untimely. The man was the senior most ranking officer of the Indian Armed Forces. He had such a responsible position. He was planning to do so much more. He had already done so much for the Indian Armed Forces, but he had plans, he had major plans. He had commissioned studies to ensure that the Indian Armed Forces become integrated. They don't function in silos. They make optimum use of their resources. All those studies, of course, will go on, and I'm sure we will see results as well. But the man who was at the helm of all that effort has suddenly been snatched away from the country. Normally you see such processions, final farewells taking place for popular leaders, political leaders perhaps, or even some major personalities like literateurs or film stars or great singers, musicians. Sometimes we've seen that happen in the past. But look at how the nation has turned out to pay their final respects to this brave soldier of the country. Everything has come to a standstill on its own, it seems. People are just, even on the other side of the road where the traffic has not been blocked, you can see that people have just stopped and they're taking images on their mobile phones. They must have just left for wherever they were going, thinking that they will, they're just doing their normal, they're just going through their normal day, and suddenly they come across this on the other side of the road and they can't help but stop and take a moment to just pay their respects to this man. Look at that. These are live images that we're getting you. These are moments that really touch your heart. Such spontaneity. The ceremonial part is still to begin. This is nothing but ceremonial. This is nothing at all that is ceremonial. This is just spontaneous. This is truly an outpouring of grief and respect for someone who should have remained amongst us for years to come, but has been truly snatched away by, we don't know what it is yet. We have a probe that is going to be carried out, and tri-service probe will be carried out. It's a court of inquiry. It could take even months to figure out, what really happened on that fateful day when General Rawat was making his way to that military college to address young officers who were about to begin their careers. And suddenly, something completely unexpected, something completely heartbreaking happened, because of which we are now seeing these images on the screen. Look at that. No one expected this really. This sort of an outpouring will take place on the streets of Delhi today. Of course, there were arrangements in place. It's a ceremonial occasion. It's a very somber occasion, but the number of people who've just turned up to bid a final farewell, to just say goodbye, that is quite remarkable. Just can't stop hearing the cries of Bharat Mata Ki Jai along this final journey. There are people whose throats are already turning sore, but they can't stop shouting at the top of their lungs, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Just to recall for you why we're seeing these images on the screen, this is the final journey of General Bipin Rawat along with his wife Madhulika Rawat, both dying tragically along with the 11 others in that crash, a helicopter crash, Mi 17V5 in Tamil Nadu on Wednesday in the afternoon. Just a little past noon, in fact, when contact was lost with their craft. And then the shocking news, the shocking images of the wreckage, the burning wreckage. The uncertainty of what exactly has happened, waiting for confirmation, all those hours, painful hours, and then finally getting to know with the confirmation coming in that General Ravath, along with all those people that he was traveling with, except for one, are no more. The nation is still praying for the one who has survived and is still battling for his life, the group captain. And at the same time, the nation is paying their final respects, bidding their final farewell to General Rawat and his wife. And this is the gun carriage that's carrying the remains to their funeral place, which is at the Brass Square crematorium ground in the Delhi cantonment. Everything has come to a standstill, as you can make out from these live images. Even on the other side of the road, everybody has stopped. And they're just capturing these moments on their phones, quite a lot of them. Some of them just standing. Look at that police personnel standing in attention to pay his last respects. So many people just getting out of their cars to pay their last respects as well to General Rawat and his better half. Very poignant moment these, but they also make you reflect when you see how the nation has turned out to bid a final farewell to this topmost soldier of the country. The participation of the youth, spontaneous participation of the youth, large numbers. Look at those images. Let me bring in my colleague Arun Sharma. Arun, just tell me where you are and what you're seeing and what you have witnessed so far. What can you tell us about this really heart-rending moment, a moment filled with a lot of poignancy and yet a moment filled with reflection?
Absolutely, Gautam, a very emotional moment. 130 crore Indians mourning this moment. An unfortunate event, a day before, we saw how this unfortunate event killed the CDS and the other defense personnel primarily. Now, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he had to, when he focused the idea of, creating this post of Chief of Defense Staff, that was integrating this, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. The focus was on the fact that how can the most experienced, a person can take the command, take the charge of this position. And General Bipin Rawat, who better than him, could have been at this position. Today, Twitter is trending with hashtag Bipin Rawat. Today, institutions, countries, organizations, everyone primarily tweeting about the fact that, Bipin Rawat is no more. And of course, people are over here, the words primarily are not enough to express the feeling of the people who over here primarily are focusing on the fact that, he leaves a deep void primarily in the defense sector. General Bipin Rawat played a significant role as far as modernizing the defense sector of our country. When India has dreamt of the vision that how can reforms be brought in, how can the defense sector of our country can become Atmanirbhar or self-reliant, it was General Bipin Rawat. There were emotional moments yesterday when General Bipin Rawat's mortal remains, when they were flown from Tamil Nadu to Delhi. People in Tamil Nadu gathered and queued up in large number, and they showered the flower petals on the mortal remains of Bipin Rawat. This shows that how a common person, or primarily you can say that the country or the army generals, the commander-in-chief, and of course the army chief of other countries as well, the BIMSTEC countries as well, they have also, offering the condolences on the demise of General Bipin Rawat. This means a lot to the defense sector of our country. This means a lot, for a country like India. When we talk about General Bipin Rawat, yes, not only domestically, but internationally also, you can say that General Bipin Rawat played a significant role. Now, we know this fact that he was also instrumental in reducing the militancy in northeastern part of our country. Also important aspect is that Rawat General Bipin Rawat primarily, the first CDS veteran primarily, or the army personnel primarily, who has served in some of the most difficult terrains in India. Now, internationally also, he has been part of the United Nations peacekeeping force and has commanded a multinational brigade as well. So nationally, internationally, his relation, his rapport with the army chiefs, the commander-in-chief of the BIMSTEC country, was also very warm and cordial. It is because of the fact that, yes, there are countries, the neighboring countries primarily, the BIMSTEC countries primarily, their army chief, the commander-in-chief and the army general primarily are offering condolences. Bhutan organized a special prayer for General Bipin Rawat. When we talk about Sri Lanka, Nepal, so all these neighboring countries, they have offered condolences, they have organized special prayer for General Bipin Rawat. So this shows that how warm and cordial relation General Bipin Rawat had. Now, Bipin Rawat, if you look at Twitter today, even the common persons, the civilians, they are also sharing their selfie with General Bipin Rawat. This shows that how amicable and approachable person General Bipin Rawat was. And this also shows for the fact that as far as bringing in reforms in the defense sector of our country, he played a significant role. And yes, General Bipin Rawat is on his last journey.
I know, Arun, just so many people have turned up to pay their tributes to him, but let me just inform everyone, who might be watching that there is a link that you can go to. It's called General Bipin Rawat Tributes.in, that has been created by the Indian Army. It's been tweeted out by ADGPI. It says, the tweet says, "Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it." And you can offer your tributes to the brave son of India, General Bipin Rawat, #CDS, by clicking on the link General Bipin Rawat Tributes.in. So you can go there if you're not able to, reach Delhi or, Bras Square or wherever that you could have paid your tributes to General Rawat. You can just go here on this link, General Bipin Rawat Tributes.in, to pay your last respects to him as well. We seem to have lost that line with Arun when I interrupted him to bring to our viewers this particular update from at ADGPI, but I'm sure we'll get in touch with him again at them. For the meanwhile, you can see what we're all seeing on the screen as well, the final journey of General Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, his wife, both of whom perishing in that tragic air crash, the helicopter crash that took place in Tamil Nadu the day before. The two of them died, and along with them 11 others, and there's just one lone survivor who we're all praying comes through this ordeal that has been brought upon him. We've been bringing to you this final journey of General Rawat, which began from his residence in Delhi at K. Kamraj Marg. Right from the time that it began, around 2 o'clock, just a little after 2 o'clock, and it's still on. It was scheduled to go on till about 3:30. That's the amount of time that was factored in for this journey to take place from K. Kamraj Marg to the Brass Square crematorium in the Delhi cantonment, where the last rites of General Rawat and his wife will be performed. And you can see now we're getting closer to Delhi cantonment, is what I can make out, because this seems to be around Dhaula Kua. And this is a principal main really road thoroughfare of the national capital, and you can still hear cries of Bharat Mata Ki Jai coming in, because just a short while back, when the gun carriage was still passing through areas of New Delhi, you can see some people still standing by the side of the road just to catch a glimpse, a final glimpse, and pay their last respects to General Rawat and his wife. Look at that, wherever people can get a vantage point, so to speak, and get a glimpse, they are just standing still. This is respect. This is bereavement. And this is a tribute. We have my colleague Nandita Dagar with us now. Nandita, you've been bringing us a lot of information in terms of the people who have turned up to pay their last respects, not just while General Rawat and his wife remains laid in state at their residence, but also for the funeral which will take place towards the afternoon. What more can you tell us about that?
Funeral will at the funeral, General Bipin Rawat will be accorded a 17-gun salute, which is according to the protocols. As you know, he is very high in protocols, the Chief of Defence Staff. So currently his on the last journey from to I am currently also we will be seeing a military band, a tri-service military band in attendance because he was the Chief of Defence Staff, not just of the army. His mortal remains are being a total of about 800 people from the three services will be present for the funeral of the Chief of Defence Staff. And the last post will be played. It is a very iconic tune, Gautam, which is played at ceremonial functions. And that last post and rouse will be played by the bugle players, the buglers. And then around 4:40 to 4:45 p.m. we are expecting his funeral pyre to be lit by his family members. And before that, before the last post, all the civil and military dignitaries would have completed their ceremony of paying homage by laying wreaths. Also, there would be priests from all religions of India. You know, a Sikh Granthi, a Christian Padri, a Maulvi, as well as a Hindu priest, the Pandit ji. So they are all will be there as the Sarv Dharma Sambhav is what the Indian Armed Services believe in. There is a regiment of the artillery known as 2233, which is providing this gun carriage on which the mortal remains of General Rawat and Mrs. Rawat are being transported here to the Barat Square crematorium. And as you know, there are 6 officers, which are 2 from Army, 2 from Navy, 2 from the Air Force. So 6 officers, and they will be Lieutenant General, Vice Admiral, as well as Air Marshal. They will be bearing they will be the pall bearers, and they will be, since the mortal remains are draped in the national tricolor. So this is the ceremonial aspect of the functions that we are expecting there to be happening at Barat Chowk crematorium. And Gautam, as you were taking the audience through these visuals, which is a gun carriage on which General Rawat and his wife's mortal remains, of course, they and Brigadier Litter have been identified. The rest of them lie at the base hospital mortuary, where they are awaiting their confirmation by the DNA test. Also, Gautam, Group Captain Varun Singh, battling for his life in the Bangalore Military Hospital. We are told that he is still critical. Only his vitals are functioning. So there are prayers all across the country, just as his family would pray. The countrymen the citizens of this country are praying for his health and his recovery and well-being. Gaurav.
Yes, certainly, and lots of slogans also being chanted. Bharat Mata ki Jai, Jab tak Suraj Chand rahega, Bipin ji ka naam rahega, by these people who've turned up spontaneously. Ananta, if you can tell us a little bit more about this outpouring of grief that we're seeing in the national capital, whether this was expected, not expected, the kind of youth, the participation of youth in this final journey is also very, very remarkable.
Yes, that's a very valid question that you asked, Gautam. Actually, General Rawat was well respected and regarded not just by the military community, not just by the political leadership with whom he rubbed shoulders and interacted with. He was very well respected. He was a soldier's general. So the common soldier, the sipai, the foot soldier, he was loved by those soldiers and also the general public. If you know, he was very, very friendly towards the media. And he was army chief for 3 years, from 2017 to the end of 2019. So, and CDS for almost two years. So 5 years in total, he interacted with the media, the newspapers, the television channels. He was very friendly with the media people, and he was a very familiar face for the countrymen or for the citizens of this country. They used to watch him on TV, taking part in conclaves and other conferences of TV news channels, as well as summits of the government, as well as think tanks. They invited
yes,
him.
a very lively person, very interactive. He had an opinion on almost everything. So many anecdotes we've heard about him. Share some of those as well, Nandita.
I'll share just one anecdote. I had the pleasure of and the honor of having chole bhature with his wife and he himself once. Actually, it was an Army Wives Welfare Association function where when he was the Army Chief in 2017, there were children with disabilities, which is, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, the wife of General Bipin Rawat. She was very active and very advocated for the normal education and normal education as well as all around development of these children, the specially abled children, as you call it. And she said they are my children. She said, as I love my 2 daughters, I love these children from Asha schools. They are known as Asha schools. They are run by the wives of army personnel. And then she said, she asked me, I was at an event, I was covering it in their official residence when he was the army chief at Rajaji Marg, and then she said, will you have chole bhature? So I said, yes, why not? So she called for 3 chole bhature, and I had with General Rawat, and he loved his food also, let me tell you that, just like I did. And I told him that you are a foodie like I am. So the Rawat at that point of time, not the CDS, the army chief, he said that yes, I am a foodie, and let me tell you, Gautam loved dogs a lot, dogs as well as horses. He was a regular at the
That
polo
also
circuit
speaks for
and
the kind of man he
yes.
was.
Yeah. So, the Delhi golf course, the race course road, he was frequently seen there with his, harmonic hand and with his right along with him and wearing sunglasses, having joined the game of polo on a Sunday afternoon. Loved vintage cars also. He said, I like to collect vintage cars, but I like to watch them. They are beautiful. So that is what I can share with you of his side of personality, which is other than that of professional life.
Yes, and professionally, of course, he was doing some great things for the country to ensure that our armed forces are completely modernized and integrated as well. And that was an effort that was beginning to bear some fruit as well. Tell us about that too.
Yes, Gautam since 2000 and January 2020 when he took over as the Chief of Defence Staff, and this post was announced in 2019 by our Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi from the Red Fort on Independence Day 2019. So immediately at the end of that year, this decision was taken, and it was a very hush-hush decision. I actually had the privilege of meeting him on that day when he was supposed to retire as the army chief and was going to be. He was absolutely tight-lipped, but he just said, "Kuch na kuch to hone wala hai." He told me that. So because he had an inkling that he would be selected as the Chief of Defence Staff, there were very strong rumors of that happening. Yes, and when you talk about his mandate, it was to for jointmanship and theaterization of our military, which means the three commands, the three services, Army, Navy, Air Force, would be combined in geographical theater commands with a single one point man as the one commander as the 1 point man, and they'll be reporting to him. This was something that he was engrossed in as the Secretary Department of Military Affairs, and jointmanship integration for greater efficacy, lethality in operations, the saving of resources. This was something that, optimal utilization of our weapons platforms. This was something that he was engaged in, and there were studies being carried out. There are study groups that have been formed. Of course, they held a meeting last month, and there is another meeting scheduled to be. It would be scheduled probably next month, and it would be very sad for. And I cannot imagine how these officers are feeling when they do not know who to report to next month, because this cruel joke that the fate has played upon our military fraternity by taking away General Bipin Rawat and very, very fine 12 other soldiers, Air Force personnel, the Army personnel who were accompanying him, his personal staff officers, his aides, and the crew of the Mi-17 Air Force chopper, the Mi-17 chopper. So the pilot was a very experienced pilot. He had been commissioned in June 2002. He has flown thousands of hours on this chopper. It's a very safe, reliable chopper. Pilots of the Air Force swear by the reliability and the safety of the Mi-17. So it's a very grim day for India, the grim day for the people of this country as they brace for the final, as they participate in the final journey of General Bipin Rawat to the Barrage Square.
Yes, and just tell us what we can expect, once his remains and that of his wife also reach the Barrage Square crematorium, because I believe there's an extensive program there as well, building up to when the funeral pyres will be lit.
Your audio is very low, Gautam, but what I can make out you said is that what will be the ceremonies at Barrage Square.
Yes.
As I said earlier, there's a four priests from four religions: Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Hinduism. They will be gathering at that funeral pyre. His coffin will be laid there with full respect. These pallbearers, as I said, 2 from the Army, 2 from the Navy, 2 from the Air Force, they are the pallbearers. His tricolor, which will be draped in the tricolor, his coffin will be draped in the tricolor, and then other people, dignitaries can come and pay their respects, military personnel, civil personnel, anybody who has had an interaction with General Bipin Rawat. and of course his family will be there. There, we are expecting the very top leaders of this country to come and pay their respects. So then of course the bugle, the military band will be playing tunes, his favorite tunes from the military music. 17 guns salute by the guns or the artillery guns will be booming, and they will be booming 17 times for the departed general, and then the funeral pyre will be lit. This of course will be a closed family only affair.
Okay, but again we will see a lot of crowds at Brass Square as well. I'm sure all those people who were at his residence earlier when his remains along with those of his wife were lying in state would have now shifted to Brass Square to just get a final glimpse of General Rawat and his wife. That is also something that I'm sure we'll be seeing as well. But as you can see right now, as this gun carriage carrying the remains of the couple is making its course to the Brass Square crematorium, there are people intermittently on the sides of the road as well who've stopped and are taking in the moment while paying their last respects to India's senior most, topmost soldier. This is the final journey of General Bipin Rawat, the nation's first Chief of Defence Staff, who died tragically in that chopper air crash that took place the day before in Tamil Nadu. You can still see young people running along this gun carriage, carrying the tricolour in their hands, and also on the side of the road you can see people gathered with the tricolour in their hands, chanting slogans, Bharat Mata ki Jai, Jab tak Suraj Chand rahega, Bipin Rawat ji ka naam rahega, all these slogans. Vande Mataram, you can hear that as well. It's a fitting final journey, but it's untimely to say the least. It's quite a lengthy procession, as you can make out from this slightly wider, longer shot. And you can only surmise for yourself what this really means in terms of the kind of respect that General Bipin Rawat commanded among common citizens, especially young people, young boys and girls, aspirational boys and girls, who perhaps want to serve the nation as he did as well. As we've been mentioning, senior military commanders from friendly neighboring countries are also attending the last rites of General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. We've had a statement given by Sri Lanka's High Commissioner Belinda Moragoda as well, and he said it's a real tragedy. Our president today sent CDS and Army Command of Sri Lanka as his envoy for the ceremony. We're heartbroken. Many senior personnel in our military have known him well. He was Sri Lanka's friend. That's what the Sri Lankan High Commissioner has had to say about General Bipin Rawat. There's a statement by the British High Commissioner Alex Ellis as well, and he said it's incredibly sad. He was a pioneer as he started the joint defence approach which we follow in the UK. He led that approach in India. It's very sad for India to lose a great leader, a soldier and a thoroughly nice man. That's what has been said by British High Commissioner Alex Ellis. As my colleague Arun Sharma mentioned, that Bipin Rawat is trending on Twitter today. That's what we're seeing throughout the day today. There's an outpouring of grief and also of tribute as far as General Rawat is concerned. And the Indian Army has also put out a link where if you want you can pay your tributes to General Ravath as well. Even former ambassadors such as Daniel Carmen of Israel, he was ambassador to India and Sri Lanka and is now back in Israel. He's also recalled his interactions with General Rawat on Twitter, and he said, I remember vividly a lengthy conversation with CDS General Bipin Rawat, who was ADGPI commander at the time, at his dinner table. With much sensibility, he asked about the history of Israel and the Jewish people, the Battle of Haifa back in 1918, my family and my military service as well. So he touched people personally, many people who were from here and abroad, and they're all recollecting how they had interacted with General Rawat. The link that I was talking about is General Bipin Rawat Tributes.in. That's been put out by the Indian Army on Twitter. You can leave your or offer your tributes here to the brave son of India, General Bipin Rawat, by simply clicking on the link and then putting your thoughts there, in case you want to do that, because that is what a lot of people seem to be doing today, wherever they can. But this is a good place to do it. I'm sure it will serve as a compendium of all those who thought well of him, wanted to pay respects to him. And this is an image that we all just can't get enough of at this moment, ever since that procession began from his official residence at K. Kamraj Road. A lot of young people who I'm sure are tremendously inspired by General Rawat and those like him who wanted to pay their final respects to him have just been running along this procession, some bearing the national flag, some shouting slogans, some with their phones in their hands taking images or videos and shouting slogans at the same time. Bipin Rawat Amar Rahe, जब तक सूरज चांद रहेगा, बिपिन रावत जी का नाम रहेगा. Bharat Mata ki Jai is of course what comes to the lips most of the time, many times. People are recording their tributes to General Rawat at General Bipin Rawat tributes.in. That's a link that's been created. People are saying Shat Shat Naman. May the departed soul rest in souls, in fact, rest in peace. Sadgati Prapti Rastu. That's an interesting one. Govind Kumar Soni saying a soldier can never be off duty. He will always be in the heart of billions. Was 100% perfect for the post he served as CDS. Our condolences with the families of martyred personnel. Jai Hind. The tribute page, the link calls him an illustrious warrior, and there's a brief description of him as well, recalling how he became the nation's